Yes, absolutely. We can change our story. And in fact, I'm going to share two stories with you that are personal stories. And the first story is about change that happened rather organically. And the second is going to be about more of a conscious change. So when I was about 6 years old, my father was a drummer in a band. And so my mom and dad every Friday and Saturday would go to wherever they went, and he would perform. And every once in a while, one of us would get to go with them. So it was my turn, and I was very excited. And my mom curled my hair and did it all up, and I had my little patent leather shoes on, and I totally remember the dress. It was a kind of a plaid dress with, green and blue and red stripes and a white collar, and I loved the dress, and I was so excited. So we go. And the tradition was, because my mom is also a singer, that at some point in the evening they would invite my mom up to sing. And so they did that, and I got to go with her. And I'm like, yes, because I'm a Leo, and give me a microphone and a spotlight. Wow. So I'm singing, and I am like, on that microphone. And I'm singing, and I look around the room, and I see my dad out of the corner of my eye, and he's doing this. And I'm like, oh, I sound bad and terrible. And suddenly my whole evening I was done. I just wanted to go home. So, I sang softly, and I, backed off the mic, and in my heart, I just kind of collapsed. Now, this is not a memory that I consciously carried with me, but go forth about 35 years, and I am teaching at a massage school. And my students are continually asking me to speak up. And, I do it. I try. But they're like, we still really can't hear you. And a friend of mine was actually a voice coach. So I'm like, Robert, you got to help me here. Can you, I need to learn how to project. And so we do all these lessons, and it was no problem. And then I'd get in class, and it was the same thing over and over again. About that time, I was also in the Sacred Fire Choir for the Women of Wisdom Conference. And so we were doing our final rehearsal, our sound check. And the sound guy says, okay, I need everybody's attention. We have two mics here. One of the mic is a choral mic. So if you're a soloist and you're on the choral mic, you need to back off of it. Because if you're right on it, like you need to be on the solo mic, if you're on the solo mic, you need to kiss the baby. But if you're on the choral mic, you need to back off, because if you don't, the sound will be really distorted. Suddenly, the image of my 6-year-old self singing and my dad going like this, I went, oh, he was telling me to back off from the microphone. It wasn't that I sounded horrible. And suddenly that story was just immediately changed because new information came in. Now, it took me about, 6 months or so to realize that after that, my students were not asking me to speak up very often. And if they did, I was able to do it really easily. So the story that I was carrying was really inhibiting my life. And then just that new information that sort of organically happened, or perhaps spirit stepped in, because I had this great desire to learn how to speak up. And I couldn't figure out why it was a problem. So that again, it's like these stories that we carry, and Bruce Lipton talks about this, Dr. Bruce Lipton, that in the last trimester up to the first 7 years of our life, the last trimester in our mommy's tummy, to the first 7 years of our life, that's when the paradigms get seeded, and that's where we act. So, I was within that thing. But he also really talks about how we can change our story, and that we can move in different ways in our life. I think that emotion is a really important part of that. I had a really strong emotional desire to make the shift. And it didn't matter that I didn't know where it came from or why it was. It happened. So yes, we can change our stories.